beautiful souls. It's Dr. Danny. Welcome back to the channel. We are going to do a live stream today, completely out of my comfort zone. Have to make sure my sound is okay though first, before I go rambling on. I see you guys in the chat. We've got Ultimus here. Hello, Ultimus. We have Lori from Look Up Astrology. Hello, hello. Brian says, I might have a couple of questions today. Hand orange covering eyes. Yes. Awesome. And we are 5 by 5. Perfect. Okay. Yes. So let me do a few things here. First, I want your opinion because we're going to do this, but it's going to be very low. And I want to make sure it's not too loud or that it cuts off my voice. So we should be hearing a little bit of music. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but we'll see what happens. There it is. This is called Ambient, and it is part of Restream, and it is a like an AI generated thing. So if you guys can hear that and you like it, let me know. Make sure my voice doesn't get cut off. Yeah, so this is kind of like a comfort zone thing for me because I am very much someone who loves to be prepared for what I'm doing. I don't want to like screw up. I don't want to say anything incorrectly. So I usually have stuff prepared. I'll have, 50, 60 slides for you guys on any given topic. And, while I don't mind doing it, it's a lot. Part of a transformation I've been going through with this eclipse energy and the recent astrology and also the Venus energy is to be more in the moment, like to be teaching more instead of presenting more. And so you've probably noticed that my PowerPoints have gotten a little less interesting, but that the topics maybe are getting a little bit deeper. Like hopefully you guys have seen the work that I've done on the houses, the really considering those and working with my own chart, really trying to come to an understanding of does this house system work for me? It seems pretty accurate when I do readings. And so for me to do the analysis on myself was pretty awesome. So I hope you guys are enjoying that because that's been pretty much a kind of a template that I've used, and I've been able to throw content in there and then give you that. That way I can work a little bit harder on the forecasts around the moon, right? So the full moons by your rising sign, the beginning of the lunar cycle by your rising sign, hopefully those are sounding and feeling more accurate to you. I'm getting a lot more feedback on them that this is amazing, this is pretty accurate, it's spot on. So that has been very, very rewarding. Let's see what else is going on. The other thing is the shorts. So, there's a way to create several videos at once. So I'm trying to like streamline what I'm doing behind the scenes so that instead of like trying to just present the perfect thing to you, it is more like the teaching, what you came for, the astrology, all of that good stuff. Because I do a lot back here. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of PowerPoints, and I love it when I have guests because I don't have anything to present to you. I literally just talk to the guests and let it happen. So I'm going to talk to you guys today. And Larissa's here. I just finished your reading. As soon as that's processed, I'm going to send that out. It's really good. There's a lot of really amazing astrology coming too. So I have a list of frequently asked questions because also what's happening now, guys, is I'm getting a lot of emails, a lot of the same questions over and over. And so what I thought I'd do is every once in a while, maybe regularly, maybe every month or every other month, part of the live stream lineup is going to be something like this, where we just sit and chat and I go through your questions so that those of you that have been emailing me, if I don't answer you, because I really want to give you a good answer in the comments and in my emails, when you take the time to thoughtfully say something to me, I want to do the same thing for you, but it's hard when you have a lot of those questions coming in every day. And also to tailor it personally for the person that's asking. So I thought this would be a fun thing to do for us. So I am I have a list of questions here in my lap that I'm happy to go through. Everything from like what I believe in, metaphysical questions, what part of my chart's the most important? How do I begin studying this? What kind of work do you do? All kinds of questions. So I have the answers to all of those. I did email those of you that are subscribed to my website, because if you go to drdanny.com and click, like email me or join or subscribed or something like that, you will be on my email list. And when you do that, when you're on my email list, like, you get everything first. So the something new straight off the press, a really important message I want to send out, you guys will get it. And so I did email everyone and ask you if you had any questions. I have a couple of those. And then, by the way, I forgot to mention, y'all, if you send me your birth chart information, that means that I'm going to do it here live. So you should specify in the email that if you don't want me to say your name or to use your chart, please don't do that. Also, too, here in the chat, I'll bring up your chart. So if we want to get into that. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. Trying to get more people into constellational astrology. Trying to talk people into doing this that are doing tropical astrology, because a lot of times they have to kind of come up with excuses for why their astrology doesn't match the sky. And I don't think that's something that students should do when they first learn a new skill. Here's a new skill, but it's totally irrelevant but you can get over it if you look at it this way. It's like teaching you how to use an abacus when you have a calculator in front of you. Like, okay, well, why are we using this abacus when we can do 7,000 calculations over here in 5 minutes? Well, because we've always done it this way, right? So, I'm trying to convince people to put down the old outdated method of just using a seasonal construct, which is tied to our calendar, which is tied to our Bible, which is tied to all of these things that kind of keep us locked in this very mundane energy, and to expand their minds and to connect back to the stars. Because when it all comes down to it, you and me and everything in this room and everything between us has come from a star in some way, in some form or fashion. Either it's literally exploded and it's landed here on Earth after billions of years, or the energy plasmas coalesced around your consciousness to create your physical body here on Earth. So here you are. Here we are, all fractals of stardust, trying to figure out what our purpose is in life. So I use astrology as that tool. I use my own inner intuition, and I talk to the voice in my head, and I ask for it to give me guidance and to show me the right path. So I would love for you guys to use astrology for yourself as well. How's the music? Is it sounding okay, guys? Do you all mind if I have your comments right here on the side so everybody can see them? That way, if I miss anything, someone can text me. It looks like we have 14. So let me see what kind of questions we have right off the bat. See who else is here. All right. Looks like we have Monday born mentality. Hello, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Fellow traveler. Hello, hello. Larissa. Jackie Daly. Awesome. If you guys don't know already, you can go to the free chart calculator on my website, powered by Mastering the Zodiac. Mastering the Zodiac, man. If you guys want to talk about journeys and kind of the light that guided me through the first part of my discovery of this kind of astrology, it was Mastering the Zodiac and Athen Commenti. I immediately subscribed to his website and his newsletter. I religiously listened to his forecasts every week, and I bought the software when I could afford it, because I wasn't really into the whole business side of it yet. I just kind of wanted to understand astrology, and so his forecast, his website was my saving grace, and his calculator as well. Every day I would get up and I would get ready and get my coffee, and I give myself about 20-30 minutes to kind of start my day. I don't want to feel rushed in the morning, so I'll sit down and I would look at my birthday, and then I would look at the day's astrology using the free chart calculator. And I would overlay them on top of one another. I'd look at them side by side and see, okay, this is my natal Aries and the sun's in Aries now. So I have the sun in my 12th house and what's happening over here. And I would just sort of look at my chart like that through the self-discovery. And just by noticing that, it was so interesting. Synchronicities would show up out of nowhere. It was really quite magical. You can ask my husband. I sounded like a crazy person because every day I would laugh and giggle and I'd be like, oh my God, the coolest thing just happened. And he'd be like, so? And that's how synchronicities are. When you have really deep and beautiful personal synchronicities, they just sort of become yours. And that's why people that are tapped in sort of have a slight grin on their face all the time. Because life can be truly magical if you're moving in flow with it. And for me personally, reconnecting to your stars is literally how you get back into the flow. If you feel like you've lost it and you don't know where to go, just go ahead and start watching the stars. See what happens. Be open to it. It's really, really beautiful. Let's see. Kakia is here. Hello, friend. Harmony Goddess Astrology. Is that you, Beth? Yeah, you said. So you sent me an email, your chart, and you said, what's the message soul to soul? And so I thought I would answer that just personally, since that felt like a personal question, unless you want me to do it live. Oh, here's a good question. I get this a lot, you guys. Okay, so this is a funny story. When I first started offering astrology readings professionally, I had a really, really cheap price. I mean, it was like $75, $85, something like that. Because you want it to be affordable, and if you're still learning, you really don't want to mess up. At least they know what they're getting, right? And I had a few people that were on me immediately and are still my clients, and they're beautiful people, and I thank them for still being around. And some of you channel subscribers have been with me since the beginning too. But the way that I set up my website is just put in your birthday, put in your birth details. And what I would get from time to time is, oops, I gave you the wrong date. Or when you work with European countries or Asian countries, they will switch the time and date if you have the number format. So, for example, if you have, this just recently happened to me actually, if you're born on July 9th of a certain year and you're in Europe, you're going to write that as 9/7. And we write it over here in the United States as 7/9. So when I see a numbered birthday, I will usually just read it like I normally do. But when I see that they're from Europe, I'll ask them. I was like, is this July 7th or September, or is this July 9th or September 7th? So what happens is you have to redo it. You have to redo everything you did. And when you're new, redoing a chart is a lot, because you want to make sure everything's just right. That's sort of the astrology mindset. It's also the doctor mindset. You kind of overstudy and over-prepare so that you deliver something accurate. And that's what the name of the game is, right? It's about accuracy. But sometimes we're too accurate in astrology. And this kind of brings me to Brian's point, the incorrect birth time. So being off by 36 minutes. This can impact your chart a little bit. So I think this will be a great teaching point we can start with. So when you look at your chart, and I'll bring one up right now. I actually have Athens True Sky software that I use available to look at. So we'll do that. Share my screen right here. When you look at a chart, this is today, or this is February 2nd. Let me go to right now. This is today. And let's say this was someone's birth chart. Okay. Oh, that's your reading, Larissa. It's almost ready. Let's say this was someone's birth chart and birth time. Like they were born at 1606 on November 3rd in Burnsville, Minnesota. That's their birthday. This is their house system. This is the equal house system. This is the house system that I use. If we advance their chart by 36 minutes, either forward or backward, the houses are going to change. And the reason is because what we represent with the houses is essentially the time of the day. So let me move this by hour. Actually, I'll move it by minute because I want you to see the slow drift. And it's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours per house. So if you go through it like this, you see that what is available in the first house changes. So we were at 1606. Let's go to 1642. So you see everything that was in the first house on the now chart is now in the 12th house. Just in the 30 minutes that has passed. That's why even twins don't have the same birth chart, you guys, because the time can be that different. Just a few minutes can make a huge difference in someone's chart. So, Brian, we may have to redo your natal chart. I don't know that it will matter, though, for the zodiacal release. So that might still be okay. So there you have it. That's the birth time. So just in 30 minutes, this person went from being a Pisces rising with Neptune as their chart ruler to an Aries rising with Mars as their chart ruler. You see? So that's why birth time is very, very important. Let me show it to you on the sky as well. Oh my gosh. Let's get rid of that. Let me go to Stellarium. Let's take out the atmosphere. Let's put in the constellations. Let's look in the eastern horizon. So this is where we get our rising sign, from the eastern horizon. And for this person, if I take away we have Taurus rising, right? If we change the time, let's go to right now. So what's rising right now on my horizon where I live? It's going to be Pisces. So for a baby born right now at 16:09 Central Standard Time, this is Pisces rising. So Neptune is that person's chart ruler. And as we move through the hours, we now have Aries rising. And then later on, we'll have Taurus rising. So the moment, the time of birth is very important for the rising sign. And some would say, and your ascendant energy, your chart ruler. And some would say it's the most important position on your chart. In fact, I agree. I don't know that the sun sign is actually the most important part of the chart. And some research into this history of using the zodiac construct, it's mostly been lunar, and there's been a few cultures that worship the sun, and we're in one. We're in one that worships the sun. Our culture, our current paradigm of telling time and predicting things that will happen in the future through calendars is literally a sun worship. Whereas previous cultures may have done the moon, other cultures may have done Venus, some may have done just a star, so it really just depends on, the frame of reference. But in all of those systems, whether they worship the sun, worship the moon, worship a star or a certain planet, the ascendant always seems to be the most important thing for a person's natal birth chart, which is why time is so important. Now, as an obstetrician, I deliver babies. So like we get to do birth times, which is pretty cool. Like, so every baby that I deliver, I document time of birth, date and time of birth, November 3rd, 16:10 p.m. And that's pretty cool because I do often know what's rising at that moment, and I'll note to myself their sun, their moon, and their rising sign, and I keep that to myself. I mean, I don't ever let that bleed into my sort of on the ground clinical work. Because people tend to focus on the more physical and immediate things in that environment. But it is interesting for me, just as an intellectual energy. So yeah, Brian, I'm sorry. We might have to do a little peekaboo at your chart with the new time and see what's different. So let's see who else is here. Selena, hello, and welcome. Yep. Thank you, Heather. I'm glad the music sounds great. Just setting to chill for the dead spaces while I'm looking. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Here we have a question. Carly Hinton says, I have Chiron in Taurus in the first house retrograde. I don't know what that means. Can you help me shed light on this question? So, Chiron in Taurus in the first house. So, when you look at a chart, let's go ahead and just pull that up. I don't know what that would look like. Let's see. You were probably 1980, maybe 84, 85. Let's see. Yeah. All right. I just pulled up a chart that has Chiron there, and we'll look at it. Yeah, so I don't need your birthday to show that, but we can show everybody what that looks like, and we can even adjust the chart a few minutes forward and back to move that Chiron into the first house and get an idea what this feels like. Woo. Let's go back. There we go. So your chart probably looks something like that. Maybe not where all the planets are, but where Chiron is. Chiron is a planet that takes 50 years to complete one orbit. So with Chiron in your chart, it's sort of the 50-year mile marker, right? Those of you that are like age 49 to 51, you're feeling it right now because Chiron is right here in Pisces. And so is your natal Chiron. So what do you feel when you turn 50, 51? Well, it's your deep subconscious wounds. It's everything that, like you, am I sharing my screen? Can you guys see me? I think you are. Let me just check. Yes, I am. Okay. So it's your, and it could also represent, if you don't have any wounds that you're aware of, it could also be ancestral wounds. It could be past life wounds. And so wherever Chiron lives, I often call it like the witch wound, like sometimes the reason that you might have been murdered in a past life, not to be gross about it, but like to just explain it in a way that there was something really, really traumatic that happened to your soul in this life or the last, or one before that was so painful, so hard, that the opportunity to overcome it is positioned in such a way that you can do that in this lifetime if you want to, because it's also the source of your greatness. So if you can overcome that wound, if you can integrate it from your subconscious into your conscious mind, and accept yourself, the imperfect you that you are, as perfection, as the perfect creation, then you've done that. Then your greatness is achieved, and you really don't have to work at it. But it comes in loving yourself. And so the best way to characterize what that energy is in your chart is to understand the house placement, the sign placement, and then also its aspects. So for someone with Chiron and Taurus, remember who Chiron is, right? Chiron is the wounded healer teacher. He was the centaur archer. He was an immortal who was mortally wounded, right? He was hit with a poison arrow, I think, and it was so painful and so awful, and it never healed. He kind of got the Prometheus gig, right? Where you're just constantly suffering and you have to live forever. And so that's the idea, right? That's the karma of Chiron, is to suffer endlessly. Whereas, when we look at the path of Buddha, that kind of teaching, it says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And when does suffering become a choice? When you accept, when you forgive, when you integrate, when you move on. And that's where your greatness is. So in your first house, those of you with Chiron in your first house, no matter which constellation, you feel the wound of the person. Like you've either been physically wounded or so spiritually wounded that you identify yourself as the wound. Like, that wound is me. I am the victim. I am the one that was punished. I am the one that is ugly. I am, that's hard. That's really hard, because you actually have to let go of that version of yourself in order to manifest your true greatness. And to find yourself, you got to look at your north node, you have to look at your sun, you have to look at your sort of what your chart is calling you to do in your life. Sometimes the inspiration can be felt through Venus energy. Where you feel called to take divine inspired action is your Mars energy. So a lot of things can be looked at in your chart to sort of find out, where is the real you. In this person's chart, where, in first house, the seventh house is often very much a mirror of what's going on. And you probably also have Uranus across from your Chiron as well. There's a whole generation of us that have Chiron opposing Uranus. And this is being wounded for expressing your true individual self, right? So you're going to see that energy in others, and you're going to be very drawn to it and magnetized to it. Those that are unique, those that can channel the divine, those that are tapped into the gnosis, but do it in a weird and wild way. So you'll be attracted and pulled to those people because they're going to teach you that about yourself. They're going to show you that about yourself. And they're also going to trigger you in ways so that you see that. So relationships will trigger you with Chiron in first house, but it's so you can see yourself. Now, it's in Taurus, and Taurus is about self-worth and value and love of the here and now. And wounds in that space can lead to being overly sentimental and attached to things that you don't have to be attached to anymore. It's like to cover the wound. If you've ever watched those hoarding shows, the Chiron in Taurus can be a hoarder, so can Saturn. But it's like an energy where you just can't let go of something because there's so much grief and so much pain. And so you surround yourself with things that bring you comfort. So there can be a wound there about valuing who you are and what you contribute. Since you're perfectly made by the Creator and beautifully made, for you to see that about yourself would be one way of absolutely overcoming that wound. Like, to get a healthy ego that is so in love with the self would be the exact opposite of how this Chiron feels about itself. Now, retrograde, it kind of depends. A lot of people feel retrograde differently, or maybe they don't feel retrograde at all. I think that the retrograde versus direct in the natal chart tells you how you're going to feel when transiting Chiron is either retrograde or direct. So, for example, when Chiron's retrograde, now, which it is now, the wounds come up. You feel it. Whereas when Chiron's direct, it doesn't resonate with your natal energy. It's farther away, also because it's on the other side of the sun. So when Chiron's in a direct phase, the wounding and the subconscious energy is projected outward. Whereas when it's retrograde, like it is right now, it's in your face. You see it, you feel it, and you go through it. So when Chiron returns to your natal placement, when you are 49 to 51, if you're female, you're typically going through menopause. It's when you go through this sort of final initiation into kind of stateswomanhood, the old crone, the wise old woman energy. And so there's a transition phase that happens. And if you don't get a hold of these wounds, they come up. Like, it's adolescence in reverse. Everything that's sort of like you thought you had figured out from all the trauma of adolescence, it comes back in menopause. And you're like, I am crying over the dumbest things right now. And why am I craving chocolate like I'm 17 years old? Same energy. So what did you do when you were a kid? You had friends. You had girlfriends that you could laugh with, giggle with, play around with. And I recommend the same thing. So when Chiron returns back, for all you ladies, surround yourself with divine feminine in the same space you're in, and it makes menopause much easier, much better. So kind of a long-winded answer, but I hope that helped. All right. Lady Spellbreaker has a question. Oh, well, this is cool because this kind of dovetails with what we were just talking about. What are your thoughts on Chiron in Aries, a return coming up? So when Chiron does move into Aries, for those of you with Chiron in Aries, those of you late 70s, early 80s babies, you will be feeling this. You will feel the Chiron return. It will be around your menopause, your natural menopause. Even if you already went into menopause or you don't have a uterus, you're still going to feel this emotional stuff come up that you feel like that you thought you had dead and buried, or that you thought you had integrated, or even that you thought you could avoid. It all comes back, you know? And so it depends on what house it's in for you. Like for me, example, for me, it's in my 11th house. And so the wound came from the group. My deep, darkest wound is being banished by my public, by people slinging tomatoes at me, or being ridiculed in a public space. And so a lot of my growth came around getting over that fear. There's a lot of fear with Chiron too. So with Aries, there could be a fear of starting something. There could be a fear of finding the true you. And overcoming that is simply doing that, simply finding you and simply starting, just doing it. Because for me to start a YouTube channel and to put my face out there and to be in a position where I could be ridiculed, I had already done it as a doctor, but it was one-on-one, so it's a little bit easier to do. But to just kind of put myself out there to nameless, faceless souls was very, very nerve-wracking for me, like to the point of really high anxiety. But I kept being pulled by spirit to do it. A lot of conflict, right? So I went for it. I said, all right, forget it. Fuck it. I'll just do it. and when the more you do it, the less you are, the less your adrenal response to that fear. Like it becomes easier to do. Like I don't think 2 years ago I would have been caught dead during a live stream without a PowerPoint or something to talk about. But here I am, just kind of shooting it with you guys. So all right, let's see. Kaki has a question. All right, so far, the best thing I've learned from Jason, I assume you mean Jason of Archaics, has been directions to your channel. How long were you in YouTube before talking to him? I officially started my channel in 2022. It was 4/4 of 22. I wasn't even into numerology then, but it just had like a resonant frequency for me. So I went ahead and just said, that's the perfect day. It was a Monday. I had, get this, you know me, needing to be prepared. I had 15 months of content, weekly content ready to go, because I didn't want to be at a point where I didn't have anything to talk about. That was also my biggest fear. You see? So I had 15 months of weekly content, 2 videos a week ready to come out. And my first video was my Organite Pyramid piece. It's in a box down there. But it's still on my channel. You can still check it out. I created these little kind of how-to montage videos where I had music that I created in the background with a frequency tied to that particular intention. And I used crystals and elements and metals and colors associated with that concept. And the first video I wanted to do was peace. And that was what I was talking about. So I kind of talked about peace in a spiritual way, everything that you could do to sort of bring peace into your life, the frequency you could use. And then I offered a peace meditation. That was my second video. And you can see my thumbnails. They're completely lame. Like nobody would look at those videos. But they're out there if you want to check them out. If you want to go digging through my channel. I think they're like super monetized. So just be aware of that. They might have a lot of videos or ads in them because they're older. But yeah, so I was out there and I had 40 followers. I would go to local shows and I would make people sign up to my channel by clicking on a QR code. I would just come to my channel. And of course I would post on Facebook every single day. But I was Oregon Corner because I was doing Organite Pyramids. And then I got to the part of my work where I wanted to do information around astrology. And I thought, all right, this is going to be fun. I love astrology. So let's dive in. And when I really started to dive into the archetypes, because I wanted to know everything, right? When I'm talking about Mars or I'm talking about Scorpio, I want to know everything. So I studied every star. I studied the music. I studied the history. I studied the frequency. I studied the color, the crystal, like all of it. And then I came to realize that the sky didn't match. And I needed a 13th video. I needed an Ophiuchus video. So I did a tetrahedron instead of a pyramid for all those. And those guys are up here. Let me actually grab one of those for you guys. Hang on. Okay. So this one is my Capricorn pyramid. And it's got tiger's eye, quartz crystal. It's got a main quartz in there that's wire wrapped with copper. And then on the bottom, I put the constellation because that was what I wanted to do. And so when I looked at the constellations, I was like, this doesn't freaking match. And then I realized that that was the journey I was being pointed to through the artistic work. So even if you just start something artistic that you love and you're interested in, it will lead you down a path. And that's the path that led me down. And so I want to say it was December of 2022. I released the video with my face and I came out and I said, hello, this is the face behind the voice. And I had my first copyright strike because I wanted to have music. I wanted to have Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon playing. And I think it's still playing. It might be. If not, it's on my Facebook somewhere. So I couldn't play it. And then I was like, oh, YouTube's hard. And I was getting to the end of my content. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do astrology updates. And I started to study Ophiuchus with Ike Rodriguez with Sidereal Revolution. I don't even know if he still has a Facebook group anymore because as luck would have it, as I'm studying Ophiuchus and connecting to my real stars, where the real placements are, okay, so Chiron in my 11th house, I get to a point where I'm banished from his group. There's a disagreement on how I was doing things. I started my own Facebook group, and that apparently rubbed people the wrong way. So I literally got banished. The thing that I feared actually happened. Right? I got banished from the group of people that I started to really study and learn astrology with. And so that was really profound for me. That was super deep. Right at that time, I decided to switch from having my own clinical practice to just doing work at the hospital and to really dedicating my focus to astrology. And so that was sort of the progression of things. I reached my first 1,000 subs in September of 2023. So that was about 8 months after I started doing astrology videos. And then it was really interesting. In March of 24, I had one viral full moon video and I got my channel doubled. I went from 17 to 2,800. And then I reached out to Archaics and I said, hey, let's talk about astrology because you seem like you're a truther. I think your audience would be really open to sort of bucking the system. And I could show you your chart in the real stars. And I think it would be a lot of fun to talk to you. And he said yes. And then we scheduled it. And I was sweating. I mean, I was so nervous. I can't believe how fast my heart was racing because I was talking to thousands of people during that live stream. And I had never, ever done that before. So you see, the greatness that I can bring through in the collective had to go through that banishment energy in order for me to feel okay with doing it, with being brave enough to do it, to know that I was okay when I got banished. So there's really nothing to lose. So go ahead and do it. Speak to thousands. And that was really beautiful. My channel doubled again. I got to like 4,500. And then this year we're starting to grow again. So that's kind of been the history of the channel. And right now where I think I'm at, I think I'm good with these shorts. I like the everyday little shorts. It's letting more people see the work that we all do. I have a lot of you listed that have channels. I have you guys at the bottom of my homepage on YouTube so that people will go to your channels. And just more collaboration with people that are interested in doing this. And in fact, even though, I spoke out about Chris Brennan, I would be honored to talk with him on a podcast about anything astrology. I mean, I think I could even get him to smile a little bit. In fact, I would read his chart. So that's where I'm at. And I want to continue writing and just bringing more knowledge and connecting things that people haven't connected before. I love decodes. I love numerology. And I love all of your comments and all the beautiful things that you guys send me. So yeah, that's kind of the history. Nikki, that's funny. Yeah, I have found that once I got really more intuitive with my readings, and this past year has sort of forced me to do that as well. I would take hours of notes. I mean, there's no time limit on how many notes you can take about somebody's natal chart. But really, when you're delivering a message to them, you have about an hour, maybe 2 hours to get it out there, where you could deliver a 4 to 5 hour presentation. Uh, and so the same thing would happen. I would over prepare, and then I would read, and I would just do a little bit. I would read a little bit of my notes, and then I would just go. And that process was so beautiful to watch unfold. And I often tease people in my readings. I'm like, every reading I do is better than the one before that. So you are getting the best reading of your life right now. And so that's a lot of fun for me. But yeah, so now I take a little bit of notes, or I generate the report from True Sky, and then I just jump off from there and I go, and it's really, really beautiful. So. And you guys, Nikki and Abby, are amazing. If y'all didn't see the video response that they did to Chris Brenner's podcast, it was brilliant. They went a little long, but they were in for the long haul, and it was good. You know, they said the things that some of us are afraid to say, that I'm afraid to say, because I feel like I was being very polite, maybe too polite in my video. But I don't want to burn. I don't want to burn any bridges. And in my mind, I don't know. You guys just seem so brave. So I appreciate you all for the work that you do. It's awesome. Ooh, we have an update from Brian, guys. He went ahead and I guess checked the chart with the new time. And you go from Gemini rising to Taurus rising. That might explain a lot of things. I'm a Taurus rising, so you might be a little bit more in that vibe. Yeah, Monday born more mental. Why can't I say it? MBM, MBM. You're Taurus rising. I think Christina is also Taurus rising. So those of you with the Taurus rising club. All right, let's see. Lady Spellbreaker says her sun is at Aries, Cetus, Pisces. Yeah, this is an interesting part of the sky that I'm interested in looking at. I've been talking with Logan about this part of the sky, and we might do a thing together. I don't know if it'll be on my channel or his. He's a kind of a snail's pace when it comes to communication, so I just kind of wait till he pops up again, and then we do something. So we will see. But what I've been downloading so far about this space in the sky, and let's actually look at it together, because this is wild. So, okay, here we go. And look, it's right there. That's where the moon is right now, I think, today. No, that's tomorrow. Let's go to right now. And let's pull up Pisces. Let's take away the landscape. All right, so Cetus right here. Look how close Cetus is to our ecliptic. This is crazy. So if we let's back up the moon a little bit and see if we can get the moon in this space. Yeah. So right now the moon is above the ecliptic, and that is because the moon has just passed over your north node. The north node, remember guys, is, if we go to right now, is in Aquarius. So when you look at Aquarius, your north node's right here. So the moon is above the ecliptic here, and will always be for a little while. But when you go before it passes the north node, the moon is below the ecliptic. Okay, so the moon will travel above and below the sun's ecliptic during the month. And this space in Pisces, Cetus, Aries can sometimes be occupied by the moon. So if our south node was over here like it was just a few years ago, the moon was passing through this part of the sky. It was going through Cetus stars. Like it probably actually hit this star in Cetus. Which one is this? This is Epsilon 1 of Cetus. The other planets also don't follow the sun's ecliptic. Again, we're a sun worshiping society and culture. So this ecliptic is much bigger if you look at the other bodies. I think Stellarium can bring up Eris. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes. Because if you look at Eris, which is considered part of some of the pantheon that we deal with, Eris is in Cetus, not in Pisces, right? And when you look at the mythology of this body, this is deep. This is heavy. This is like, if you thought the mystical waters and the deep of Pisces was like full of despair, wait till you study the Cetus energy. It literally feels like there's no going back. But at the same time, it's the space where transformation occurs. It's the letting go before you actually get to the void. So, yeah. So thinking about this is probably pretty heavy, and it's, I want to do it right. So, I'm thinking about this, and I want to see what Logan has to contribute. He puts this with Jonah and the whale, but this is also the beast in the Andromeda story. That was slayed and turned to stone by Medusa's head that Perseus, who's over here, was holding. So all those characters are actually up here. Andromeda, Pegasus, the mother of Andromeda, Perseus, they're all over here in this part of the sky. Cepheus. So, yeah, we'll be exploring that. That should be interesting. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Is it true that you should not get surgery on a body part that the sun is ruling at that time? Ooh, I used to know that verbatim, as taught by Judith Hill. She's a medical or an astrologer that studies medical astrology, and I think she has kind of like a homeopathic herbal medicine clinical practice that she does, and she uses the stars, but she uses tropical. So it's difficult to answer this question. It's difficult to answer medical astrology questions because it has been habitually done using the signs. Now, a good astrologer, a good tropical astrologer will tell you that the signs don't even matter, that it's the houses, which is their way of saying, those signs are not accurate, but the houses are, and so are the angles, which is exactly what Chris said the other day on his video. So all planetologists get the planet angles right and get where it is in the sky based on the time of day correct. It's just, does the sign actually matter? So I don't know. I don't know that if you should not get surgery on a body part that the sun is ruling at that time. I do know that surgery should be avoided if it's eclipse season. That's pretty standard. That's kind of all over the Renaissance medical literature. So that's something that you can definitely say, like, unless it's a life-saving surgery. So if your appendix bursts and it's the lunar eclipse, have the surgery, right? But if you have a torn meniscus in your knee and you can wear a brace for a few days and maybe wait to get the surgery, maybe do that. Because eclipse energy is funny. It's unpredictable. It can pull energy away or add energy to. And the timing of medical procedures is important, but I don't know that it is as simple as the sun. So if you are interested in that, Judith Hill has an amazing medical astrology course. I took it. I understand it. I don't practice it though, because I have to do real life things in the real world right now, at least for right now, to maintain what I do, in order to help those pregnant ladies have their babies and to be part of the hospital. So, really can't like practice medicine. So I would say that if you need the surgery for life-threatening things, always get it. If you can postpone it and you subscribe to the belief that eclipses affect that, then it may be prudent for you to wait. So. All right. Monday born mentality says sun sign energy shows yearly, moon monthly, rising daily, day of the week speaks for itself. Yeah, there's even hours. There's also hours. Have you guys seen this? This is pretty cool. If you I did a live stream like about a year and a half ago where Desiree and I did Orrery Astrology, and I did a quick presentation on it. So if you guys want to check that out, let me show you the two graphics that I have that are pretty cool that will give you the time of day so you can screenshot these. So there will be a planetary hour that you will be aware of now. Photos. So let me go to the day. So the hour one is the moment of sunrise. So every day this will change, right? Because the sun doesn't rise the same time every day. So let's say the sun rose at 7 o'clock this morning on this Monday. So 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock is the hour of the moon on Moon Day. Then 8 o'clock is Saturn's hour on Moon Day, and 9 o'clock is Jupiter's hour, 10 o'clock is Mars's hour, etc. You go through these first 12, and then you go to the then you go to the hours of the night. So after you go through the first 12, then you go through these. So for our Monday, what time is it now? It's almost 5. So we would count. So the sun did rise about 7 this morning. So we'll say 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's Jupiter's hour, about to go into Mars's hour for me on this day of the moon. And that's useful. Like if you're doing Orrery astrology, because the moment you ask the question is when you cast the chart. And when you cast the chart is what gives you whether that's a good question to ask, number one, and also if it is a good or a bad answer. So it's very interesting. Mhm. All right, Lady Spellbreaker, you're scheduled to have all Mercury replaced on one quadrant of my month during Mercury retrograde. Wow. Yeah, some Mercury retrogrades are easier than others. Mercury retrograde is one of the least interesting topics that I talk about on my YouTube channel. Like of all the videos, people just don't seem to be interested in Mercury cycles, but it is one of the coolest cycles ever. Like if you want instant manifestation, you work with Mercury energy. I'm not kidding you. Like easy things, like I want someone to call me. You just think I want so and so to call me, and the same day they'll call you if you work with Mercury the way that I teach it. But for some reason, it's my least performing. I guess people just don't really want to know how to do it the right way, right? Nikki says the ascendant is so important for a proper reading. I've experimented with using Pluto houses to figure out a lost ascendant before, and it seemed to work. Ooh, that's interesting. Like putting Pluto on the ascendant, like one house from Pluto, second house from Pluto, that kind of thing. That's pretty interesting. You guys should do a little video on that. The African wolf is here. Hello, hello. Thanks for coming. All right. Just seeing if you guys have any more questions. Oh, it might be Chiron night. Let's see here. We have another Nikki in the chat. She says, "Hello, Dr. Danny. How about Chiron in the second house in Aquarius?" So let me see if I can make that. So you have an Aquarius. Okay, so you would be a little bit earlier than us. Let me go back to, let's see, 1965. Let's go back a couple years. And then we'll go back a couple hours. Actually, I should show you guys me doing this. Because this is my process. This is what I do. When I have a thought or you guys send me a question, I have to think about it. I'm like, okay, what would that look like? Because I have to see it first, So that's why I try to give you guys like 6 different ways from Sunday to see things so that those of you that don't understand the way, maybe graphically, maybe verbally it helps you. Whereas, see, I'm just moving it by hour to get this Chiron into the second house. And this Chiron I had to move from Pisces to Aquarius. And the last time it was in Pisces was right around my birthday, 1974. So I just went back 10 years to put it in the right spot. So you see, I'm a master dial turner here. So here we have Chiron in Aquarius in the second house. Did you say retrograde? Nope, you didn't say either way. But all right. So this is interesting. There's a whole generation of you guys with Chiron in Aquarius. And I love you guys because you have all like literally suffered in silence alone, or at least most of you for most of your life. Because this is the wound of not being included, of literally being left out. So you feel like you're different than everybody else. And so when you're connecting and communicating with people, it always feels so surface level. You just don't feel like you're connected. Here's what's so awful about this. It comes from you. It comes from that deep subconscious wound that we've talked about, but it comes from that relational energy in groups and being accepted in your tribe. So you automatically come at a group of people like you are the black sheep. And so that's how you guys always feel. So you have suffered for so long. But here's the deal, you guys, if you just start talking to each other and share the trauma, the history that you've been to, because you guys also share that crazy Pluto Uranus combination in Leo. You guys have seen the dark underbelly and you want to bring that to the world. You want people to see it. And so you have just the most unique and beautiful, artistic, expressive, avant-garde sense about you. And when you can connect on that deep level, on that deep, vulnerable level with someone else, like in your age group, you realize that that's your tribe. You guys are the island of misfits. Do you remember that from the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the island of misfit toys? That's you guys. Start talking to each other because you will find that you are just a creative, eclectic, collaborative soul tribe that's come here to expose not only your own deep wounds, but also the deep wounds of our collective energy and our collective expression. Second house is around like value and worth and like how you guys see yourself. So it's loving yourself. So the wound of self-love or of not loving yourself. But again, remember this is your power, right? This is the space of your greatness. And so when you get that quirky, eclectic, fun older soul tribe around you that has been through the ringer like you guys, you you feel better about yourselves individually and you feel the value that you've added to that tribe. Okay, so you guys really finding each other is so important. I often tell when I see this signature in a chart, I say if you don't have a group of people just like you or weird like you around you, find them immediately, because that's your soul tribe family and that's who you're supposed to be connected to. So I hope that was helpful. What about the 12th, Dr. Danny? Do you mean like the 12th house or Chiron in the 12th? I'm gonna get out my Chiron notes if you guys want to know about Chiron through the houses. We can do that, but I don't know if I can remember all of it. Let me open that up for y'all. Actually, it was already in the list. There we go. Or divine energy. Oh, Harmony Goddess. I'm so sorry to see that or to hear that. Both of those things are definitely initiatory moments that bring you through a profound transformation, especially if you beat the cancer and you celebrate after the divorce, because you know that you've brought something full circle, that you've literally transmuted something and healed something. So hopefully that was your experience with both of those things. Oh, Lady Spellberger, you're in your midlife crisis, girl. The 40s is fun. There's a lot of things that change in your 40s. Like you just have to be ready for the ride. Um, Uranus half return. Yeah. So what she's referring to is when you guys look at Uranus, for example, I'm going to just go to my natal chart. So here I was born with Uranus in Virgo. And when I approached age 42, I reached Uranus over my Chiron, and it was a Uranus opposition. So it's the half return. Uranus takes 84 years to transverse your zodiac. So from the moment you're born to 84 years is how long Uranus will take one lap, whereas the sun takes 1 year. Mercury just kind of goes with the sun. Venus goes with the sun. They have other cycles that are different lengths. Mars takes 2 years, Saturn takes 30 years, Jupiter takes 12 years, the moon takes 27 days, and Neptune takes 168 days. Pluto takes 248 years. So 168 years, 84 years, 248 years, 2 years, 1 year, etc. So each planet has its own speed, right? So Uranus's speed is about the length of one lifetime. I mean, we only know a few handful of people that make it to 84, right? So if you meet an 84-year-old, they have gone through one cycle of Uranus. That is amazing. They probably don't give two shits about what people think about them. If you think about it, they probably do whatever if they have the mental faculties and the physical capabilities, they probably do whatever the heck they want, and that's a beautiful thing. So when we're about 21, like right when we leave the nest, so to speak, or usually when most people leave the nest, I'll go to when I was 21. We'll go to let's see, when was that? When was that? 1996. So here you see the Uranus is now in a square to the natal position because the natal Uranus was right here. So this is okay, who am I really? What is my individual spark? What are my individual talents? What am I good at? How am I different than the rest of the world? This is also a time when we kind of do things on our own. We express ourselves in different ways. So that jives. Then when we get to 42, which how old was I then? It was 42, 24, 2016. Then you get your Uranus opposition. And mine happened to be next to my Chiron, so that was fun. But 2016, let's see. I had literally passed my boards about a year before. I was enjoying my life, surfing, um, keeping it real, doing my thing, conforming to, the lifestyle I had as a doctor, but pushing the edges a little bit, maybe getting a little bit of a different car. I cut my hair this year. I went from long flowing blonde hair to this short little pixie cut that you see here. So sometimes Uranus can do that. You can drastically change how you're perceived externally because this is the Uranus mirror to itself. So, Lady Spellberger, you may be going through one of those. Was I not sharing my screen? Oh shit! What a pain in the neck. Okay. Oh. All right, I can go back. So, I used my birth date and here, and then when I was, let's see, we were 1996 was the first one. I showed you guys my Uranus square, and I talked about that. And then I went to 2016, which was my Uranus opposition, and that's when I pixie cut my hair, and it was conjunct my Chiron. So just so you guys can see that that's what Lady Spellberger's talking about. Uranus is returning to a spot that is completely opposite her natal Uranus. And then when we get to age 63, let's see, that'll be what, 12 years from now, so 2037. This will be a Uranus Jupiter conjunction in Gemini. So this may be a wonderfully creative time for me. I have Uranus in Gemini moving through my second house. That'll be pretty cool. So yeah, Lady Spielberger, you are probably having a look at yourself like on a soul level there, and you may be changing the way you look completely. Like you might have gone through a complete physical transformation. This music feels kind of intense for me right now. Let's change it to atmosphere. Like that dee dee dee. God, let's see. There we go. We'll put some birds and stuff. I like that. Okay, that's better. Oh, goodness. All right, Carly says, when it comes to a person's personality, what's the difference between them having a morning star or an evening star? I think you mean Venus, right? Well, when it comes to the Venus energy, sometimes a person's Venus energy isn't obvious. So it is a subtle energy, right? I mean, I often equate her with fourth dimensional energy. Like, you know, how when you close your eyes and you're visualizing your chi or your prana or the energy that's moving around you through you. Like if you want to create an orb of light and you want to send it to people, you're using your imagination. That light, that energy, that's Venus. And it's so subtle, it's so fine, but it's so powerful. Because when it's unblocked and it's flowing through your chakras, you're literally the copulating co-creative force of the universe. Like you are the center, you're of that toroidal field of energy. And I like to equate Venus to that because when she's unblocked, your manifestation is effortless. You create from the heart, you create from the soul, and the universe vibrates out. You vibrate out into the universe, and it resonates with you and attracts to you, magnetizes to you, bring things to you that are in that resonance. That's really, really a beautiful process. So when you're following Venus, you can get moments like these more and more and more and more. And so the best way to do that is to know your own natal Venus. So how does your creative force work? Well, how do you know you're working with Venus in the first place? Well, if you've ever been in love, right? Head over heels, just excited to be around somebody that, oh, your heart's racing or you're really nervous or you got the butterflies in your stomach. That's Venus. That is literally what it is. It may be more subtle than that for you. You might get spirit chills. You might get a sense that something is good or something isn't quite so good. That's Venus. Her path to enlightenment is to literally experience the world here in the physical senses and the etheric and emotional and mental senses in order to transmit that experience, that unique experience, back to the creator so that the creator can more know itself. So Venus is here in that co-create, both spirit and matter, the circle over the cross, co-creating with you through your desires. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want? When you know what you want, even if you don't know what you want, but maybe you follow those body or those gut instincts and you just follow that and flow, that's also working with Venus. But when you know something's your passion, it's effortless. Okay, so Venus, the morning star, she rises before the sun. She's bringing the sun energy. When I look at her cycle, it's the older, more mature Venus. The Venus that knows precisely what to do. It's not as flirtatious. It's not as bubbly. It's not as clumsy either. It doesn't quite flow wherever it wants to. It has a focused path because the cycle's almost complete. The energy of that particular 20 months is coming to a close. So there's more refinement. So I feel like morning star Venuses are much more refined, much more decisive, a lot less sparkly, but not in a bad way, right? There's still that energy of, arousal and being excited and being in love with something, but it's more measured and it's more refined and it's more about devotion, and spirituality and really connecting to the higher vibrations of that Venus energy. As Venus swings around through the superior conjunction and into the evening star phase, we get more of a bright, excited, bubbly, bouncy, clumsy, a little bit chaotic energy that doesn't quite have a direction. It's almost like, let's just see where it goes. It's more willing to sort of take a chance, take a risk, and see where it goes, and then be shot down, because it will learn that being shot down is how you refine. Whereas the morning star Venus is already much more refined and doesn't need to bounce off the walls in order to find the space to create it. So bubbly morning star or evening star Venus is a lot more sensual, a lot more like Aphrodite, whereas the morning star Venuses might be more like the Huntress or the Empress energy, where she knows precisely what her next move is, what her next calculation is. We have an update from Beth on her Chiron return. She is now in her Saturn return. So you bring up another very, very good topic, and that is the Saturn cycles. So Saturn will take about 27 to 30 years to make one complete orbit around your natal chart. So if we go back to the charts that we were looking at, me, for example, Saturn's in Gemini. So Saturn is currently in Pisces, making its final third quarter and approaching my second Saturn return. So if you're lucky, you get 3, maybe 4 Saturn returns in your lifetime. And the first one's around age 27 to 30 years old. So what did you do during your first Saturn return? Some of you are in that. Some of you are in your second Saturn return. Some of you are somewhere in between. On my first Saturn return, I decided to go to medical school as a late bloomer. I didn't do it in regular college or in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I wanted to join the Air Force, and then I wanted to be a theater major. So I've done so many different and crazy things. So when I got out of high school or college, I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. It took me a little while to find myself. So, and it's about bringing in responsibility, about doing the thing here on Earth that you're supposed to do, putting in the work, putting in the time, putting in the service to the realm. And that's what Saturn demands of you. You learn during your 30s, 40s, and 50s that you create precisely what you want. Every decision that you make, every decision that you don't make, everything that you decide is okay or not okay, manifests the world around you. And so learning to use Saturn, learning to use that responsibility is pretty much what that whole second lap around is about. And when it comes around to the second time, this time it's about working smarter and not harder. It's a more refined Saturn. Like, okay, where it used to take me, 5 hours to prepare an hour-long YouTube presentation, maybe I can just take 30 minutes to do it and show up and just be me, and there's many, many examples of that. So a lot of times people that have not been connecting with that will find themselves in a very shifty place. I remember my mother's Saturn return vividly. She went through a tremendous change in her life that was horrible for her, but in some ways completely liberating. So a lot of times these chaotic changes that happen to us after we've been holding on to a pattern for a very long time, these larger planetary returns will shake those things loose from your grip, from your death hold on them, so that you realize you don't need them anymore. And that's when you grow. That's when you evolve. That's when you have your aha moments. So they're hard. And sometimes you need an astrologer. Sometimes you need an oracle or a mystic to help you through those moments. And sometimes you just need to scream at the top of your head into your pillow. Sometimes you need a glass of wine. Sometimes you need to run barefoot in the ocean. So a lot of the second Saturn return is about connecting back to who you really are and what you're here to do. What is my purpose? How important is it that I do everything that I think I'm supposed to do? And how important is it to do what I truly want to do? So that is Saturn energy. So if you need a reading, Harmony, let me know. we can trade or do something. I'm not making the pyramids anymore. But maybe I'll bring them out in a little short and show them off again. Oh, you guys are just so wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. I literally didn't even go to my list of frequently asked questions because you guys have been so wonderful and just interacting. So it's been great. Yeah, Heather, I agree with you. I think that there's definitely more yang in the morning star Venus, but think about it. The Venus has already been through a cycle. She already knows what she wants. There's no there's no giddily bouncing around or aimlessly trying to find the creative spark. She knows, she's focused. So right now that's where we are in this part of the Venus cycle. If you guys want to, I can we can pop into that a little bit. Let me see if there's any more questions from you guys. Oh, someone did ask about fasting during moon phases. I think the best time to fast, you have options. If you already know sort of how you are during your lunar cycle, and there's a tough period for you, either where your stool loosens up, or you get a little constipated, or you get some nausea, anything weird, doesn't matter what you eat. It just you are more sensitive to the things that you put in your body. If you notice that you're more sensitive during a certain time of the month or during a particular phase of the moon, then that should be when you would focus your shorter fasts, like 24 hours or 48 hours. If you have strong placements in your chart, especially in Virgo, sometimes Virgo fasting is good. I have found for me that there are certain parts of the cycle where my appetite just decreases naturally and I'm not interested in eating. But some people like need to eat. And so if you notice that your gut's a little bit more sensitive during those specific time frames, they'll repeat themselves. You'll know exactly when to expect it after a while. That's when you should focus your fast. Carly, I used to live in North Carolina. I went to Chapel Hill School of Medicine, and we had a house in Raleigh, and we lived in Durham for a little while too. All right, Brian has a question. Whenever you're ready, the first question I wrote down earlier was, could you speak on the importance of aspects within a natal chart and maybe the context of orbs, 1 degree versus 5 or 8 degrees? I think aspects are very important. I think that you can speak of the placements to give the flavor of the person's energy arcs. But if you really want to tell a story of where they get stuck, what their love language is, who they're going to love, how they're going to love, how they're going to work, who they're going to work with, then you want to look at the angles and the aspects for sure. And then the ascendant is obviously the most important part of the chart. I think most people would agree on that. And then for orbs, so for minor aspects, like if you're doing the golden phoenix angle, for example, or if you're doing a quincunx or a semisextile or a quintile, you would want to use a smaller degree of orb because they're minor aspects. So they're only going to hit briefly. Also, when you're doing transits, you may want to shorten the aspects a little bit because you don't want Pluto to transit your sun for 10 years. You know, Pluto moves very, very slowly. And so a 1 degree orb for the slow moving planets to affect your chart might be a great way to work with those planets. Like, so for example, the Chiron return, I'm not counting the full 5 or 6 degree orbs of Chiron as it's moving over my, we're doing 1 degree for the conjunction so that it does its first pass, it does a second pass, a third pass, a fourth pass, and then a fifth pass. And then I think it's done with me this year, thank God. So I think for the slower moving planets that are transiting onto natal, I think that a smaller orb is better. And then I think the sun The moon should get the larger orbs. Like if you're doing like a smallish orb like 5 versus a larger orb like 8 or 10, major aspects should get the larger orb, and also sun and moon should get a larger orb. For planets like for the minor planets too, you can also use a smaller orb. So like Ceres and Aries and things like that, you could use 5 or 1 degree with them. It really just depends on when you want to start feeling their influence. So, for example, with Venus, I use a large orb. I use 8 degrees because it's very subtle energy. You want to start paying attention when it is within a window where it can be kind of felt and intuited. So that's why mine are long, last several days, and then the peak is usually in the middle. So a transit is like a wave. As the planets are moving through your natal energy, the connections that they make are like waves, frequencies winding in and out of each other. And that natal resonance that you hold and you carry, as those waves move through it, they play your strings, right? So when something's vibrating over your first house, then it vibrates a certain energy within you. What is the best day for a sign to get your haircut in? Yeah, I guess Friday's probably a good day to get your haircut. I would say that's good. Or when moon or sun is in your first house. Yes, I think Cetus is also Tiamat. This is really actually funny because it's so true for you, Ultimus. I agree with you. But it's because of your Aquarius rising, Uranus ruling your chart, and Mercury and Uranus being in an octave with one another. Your mental energy is always going. Always, 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 always going, 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 going. And when Mercury is retrograde, that intensifies by a factor of 10. And so what you're normally spinning on, and now you have 10 times more of those things going on. So the normal things that you've been able to adapt to do routinely that have helped you, they don't work when Mercury's retrograde. Like, 'cause you forget. Like the simple process of, let's say, making or setting up coffee for the next morning, right? So you have this coffee pot and you've got to put water in it, and then you've got to put the filter in it, and then you put the coffee in it, and then you close it, and then you put the coffee pot in there, and then you hit the right button. Seems pretty simple, right? But let's say you're filling up the coffee pot with the hose and someone calls you and you pick up your phone and you start talking, and then they remind you of the thing that you have to go do in the refrigerator. So you turn the faucet off and then you go walk over to the fridge and then you hang up and you put your phone in the fridge, and then you forgot you were making coffee. So you look into the oven and see if your cookies are burned yet. Like, I mean, that's literally why you can't make the coffee anymore, because that was the original objective by putting water in there. Now you've forgotten the coffee grounds and you've closed it and you've set it up to go off tomorrow morning, but there's no coffee. So that's why Mercury retrograde is your nemesis, is because you've got so much stimulation that the normal things you do to adapt with your already really active mind trip you up. So let's see. Why is that? Why can't I see my chat? There we go. All right. The Stock Explorer is here. Yeah, African Wolf, you need to start working with Mercury retrograde when it is at its inferior conjunction. The last one we had was September 13th. That's when it's Mercury way over there, and then the sun between us and Mercury. So the Mercury has moved behind the disk of the sun. So we can't see Mercury. We can't feel Mercury. The only way we know Mercury is there is by the beautiful synchronicities that the sun blesses us through its light. So once Mercury comes out of that spot and starts racing towards us, towards Mercury retrograde, that's when everybody feels it, because Mercury is really intense. So the best time to start the cycle is when it's on the other side, because you can send to Mercury your intentions and it will communicate it to the sun. Then when Mercury swings back around, thoughts become things. It's really, really beautiful. So maybe this Mercury retrograde, I'll do one more Mercury retrograde video. If I don't get good views, I'm not doing it anymore. You just have to take the course. Happy solar return to Nora. Concrete Rock Band says, what about Lilith? I heard is bad. Well, I mean, what did you hear that was bad about it? That's probably literally the reason that we have Lilith in our astrological charts. I mean, when you're talking about Lilith energy, it is the wild, untamed, creative force within you that has been banished because it is bad, because it is uncouth, because it is inappropriate, because it is ugly. When the truth is that it has been banished because it's the most powerful and beautiful side of you. It's just shoved into a dark corner so we can't see it. And so I don't know if that's bad, but it exists. And it exists because of centuries of traumatic wounding of our culture and of our collective through whatever mechanism. I don't care, but however it's happened, but it's there. And I think Black Moon Lilith is the response to it. It's saying, you need to look at me, you need to see me so that I can be integrated, because that is the key to your evolution. You cannot evolve without looking at the dark side of yourself. And that's really what Black Moon Lilith is showing you. That's what Pluto's showing you. That's why all of these bodies show up in our collective consciousness throughout the eons, throughout time. They show up when they're needed. And Black Moon Lilith is a relatively new phenomenon. So right around the turn of the century, late 19th century, is when we started watching that sort of energy. So there's something deep within us that we need to bring out into the open. Ultimate Summit Charlie in the box, yes. I agree. For those of you going through these planetary returns and these rites of passages, you'll find that it gets better and better. There are challenges, but we definitely thrive as we get older if we go through these challenges with kind of like almost like a fun attitude. Like, all right, bring it. Let's go. Let's do this. Teresa has Chiron in Capricorn in the 6th house. All right, I'm going to read it to you. First, I'm going to give you Chiron in Capricorn because we haven't heard that one yet. So Capricorn Chiron is the wound of authority and persecution. You were either born between 2006 and 2010 or 50 years before that. Chiron in Capricorn is the witch wound of oppression and control. This soul may have been punished by institutions, persecuted by those in power, or forced to conform to societal expectations at the cost of their true self. There may be deep karmic ties to patriarchal oppression, religious persecution, or fear of stepping into leadership. Healing comes through reclaiming sovereignty, breaking free from limiting structures, and recognizing that true authority comes from within. Chiron in Capricorn carries the weight of past lifetimes, where wounds of authority, structure, and societal expectation shaped the struggle. The pain of feeling inadequate or failing to meet external standards becomes a relentless burden. Healing requires breaking free from rigid definitions of success and reclaiming self-sovereignty. This soul must learn that true mastery does not come from control, but from wisdom gained through endurance. Capricorn's lesson is to transform wounds of restriction into the foundation of authentic leadership. So that's tough. 6th house. So this is the gift of healing and ritual precision. So if you have that Capricorn Chiron wound, you carry also the wound of perfectionism, overwork, and self-sacrifice. But within this wound is the gift of precise and disciplined magic. These individuals excel in herbal medicine, energy healing, purification rituals, and body alignment techniques. Their power is in the ability to see patterns, diagnose imbalances, and restore harmony through daily rituals. They are natural healers, alchemists, and sacred practitioners of earth-based medicine. So that's you, Teresa. Awesome. I think I'm getting down to the end here. You guys are such beautiful souls. I really do appreciate you so much for being here. This was a wonderful stepping outside of my comfort zone exercise, and I appreciate you all so much for supporting me. It really wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. Yes, Ultimus. Actually, what I do, the remedy for Mercury retrograde, you guys, if you're feeling what Ultimus is feeling, is to slow down. Slow down. Literally make sure that everything your body is doing is intentional, even if it's walking. I'm taking a step with my right foot. My right foot is hitting the ground. The ball of my foot is hitting the ground. Now the arch is hitting the ground. Now my toe is hitting the ground, and I'm moving forward in space. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. If you slow it down like that, then you can access the genius level downloads that Mercury has for you. For sure. Awesome. Cool. All right, you guys. Well, what do you say we wrap it up? And I will, if you guys want to keep doing this, let me know. This is my email for next time. So if you have a question for next time, I will be taking questions by email. You can just type it in the body of the email. I'm going to set up a little questions folder. And so if you guys want me to hit up your questions during my live streams, that'll be the place I go to. If you ask me a personal question about your chart and you're not afraid to have it analyzed on the live stream, I'm willing to do that for you. I just don't want to take y'all out of your comfort zones. So just be forewarned, if you send me a birth date and you do not distinguish that you do not want it read online, assume that I will, okay? Or give me explicit permission that it's okay to do that. Because obviously, I'm okay with putting my chart out there and pouring my chart out to you, but maybe you don't want to pour your chart out to the rest of the world. So do that. And then I think we can do these maybe on the regular if you guys want. Maybe once a month, every other month, when I get a buildup of questions, we'll let them build up a little bit, and then we'll get together and we'll rotate around repeating concepts, that I keep getting. Sometimes it helps me too, because if there's a way that I can explain a concept better, then your questions help me. And so I really appreciate y'all so much. So much. All right, my loves. Well, there will be more shorts coming. And for those of you that are channel members, I am working on recording and publishing in the next day the final second house and eighth house axis for you guys. It's the most amazing axis in astrology, the second and the eighth house. It's about surrendering and about owning and possessing. And so we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. It'll be the same format, but we're going to analyze my chart again too through the second and the eighth houses. So I'm going to record that probably either later today or later this week. And then stellar foundations, we're getting into week 5, week after next. We're going to take a break over Thanksgiving week. So, and I did email all of you for a focus session. So if you want to meet with me for a quick download, trouble with your chart, trouble with someone else's chart, let me know. I can help you guys. And that's what we're doing. Let's see, I think that's everything that I have to tell you, to announce to you. So stay tuned for those videos, and I will see you guys later. I'm going to give you the same outro that we has as an intro. Oh yeah, for the Q&A, the monthly Q&A that we do, that is for our stargazers. So those are channel members, and they contribute monthly to the channel. And if you want to do that, there is a link floating around here somewhere, or I think on your apps you can just click join, and it's $6.99 a month. So you guys get some videos first, you get some exclusive content, you get to meet with me once a month in a Zoom call. The last one we only had 3 people, so like get in while it's good, right? Where I can focus on just you guys during the Zoom call. And then I record it and I post it to the members only section. So And then you guys also, I hope you knew this, but you also get 13% off any of my readings. So if you're already a member and you would like to get a reading, then there is a discount code. You can just ask me or email me about it. So, okay, cool. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for participating. Even if you can't, like, if you can't join the channel, just giving me a thumbs up, subscribing, sharing this video for people that might need the information, that would be great. So I will see you all on the next live stream. Have a wonderful day, my friends.